The drama surrounding Meek Mill and his probation continues. According to TMZ, Meek's probation officer gave him the okay to travel to Toronto with the Sixers co-owner to watch the game yesterday. But when it came to getting Judge Janice Brinkley's signature, she ignored that request. News of the controversial decision dropped around the same time Meek appeared on the Dr. Oz show to address issues within the criminal justice system. You see the video clips there. He was joined by Michael Rubin, who's now a friend. Rubin has been very vocal on social media following the ruling and the show. He posted this picture on Instagram calling out the judge who also sentenced Meek to serve 2 to 4 years in prison. He wrote, in part, Judge Janice Brinkley, I know you have a vendetta against Meek Mill and are obsessed with trying to control every aspect of his life. But did you really not approve him to go rep the Sixers in Toronto for the game? Do you also hate Philly? Well, Drake, who serves as the Raptors global ambassador, also took to social media to voice his support for Meek Mill. He posted this on his Instagram story before going to the game. It reads, they gotta let Meek into the city. It's only right. We got a classic series on our hand. Well, game aside, let's talk the facts of this case with attorney Joseph Marrone, who's here to help us sort of sift through this and break it all down. Meek's 19 years old. He gets in trouble. He's on probation. Fast forward to today, he's still on probation. Still on probation. Under the same judge. In your professional opinion, is this excessive? Is this normal?
It is excessive, mainly because of the fact that, you know, when you talk about travel restrictions, things of those nature, usually if the person on probation is complying, is doing a good job, is going along with everything, and the probation officer is giving a feedback to the judge that she's okay with everything, usually the judge goes along with it. So for the fact that the judge pushes back and denies him, in this case, the travel to Toronto, it shows that the judge has taken somewhat of a personal interest in the case and doesn't seem very fair.
Here's the deal too, Joseph. So the probation officer says, okay, go. But why can't he go? He needs the final...
It wasn't just the probation officer, it was the DA also. So you had the DA and you had the probation officer. And usually in most cases, when you represent someone, the judge wants to say, well, what's the probation officer have to say with this?
Right.
The probation officer's against it, or the DA's against it, usually she'll take their recommendation. In this case, it's the opposite, which tends to tell me that this specific judge wants to show everyone that she has control of this case. And it's kind of a pushback because this case kind of took a life of its own. Because when Meek Mill was put back in jail for a probation violation, which everyone thought was excessive, he had a large rallying cry of not just his following, which is millions of people. I mean, he's a very successful rapper. He has successful rapper friends that are moguls that have huge followings, Jay-Z and the like. And he also was able to get business moguls such as Michael Rubin, such as Bob Kraft. And I think even Jeffrey Lurie stepped in to support him. I think that the judge took this as a situation where you're not going to tell me what to do. So when she has an opportunity to push back, and this travel opportunity really wasn't for business. This wasn't for him to go perform to earn money. This was more of a novelty that he's promoting the Sixers. So, but should she have let him go on? No problem. Yeah. Why is she doing it? Probably because, again, she wants to show everyone that she's not going to really take it, that she can make the final decision. And it's not fair, and this is not the way the system should be. And ultimately, this is why we're getting into justice reform, to not allow one person to make a decision on someone's probation. For the rest of their life, ultimately. We have to speak on this, Joseph, just for people on the other side. We put a poll up earlier and asked people what they thought about it. I think overwhelmingly 63% of people say, well, he's on probation, so what is the big deal? Why is he complaining? Why does he think that he should deserve some special treatment because he's a celebrity? What do you say to that? Well, probation in general, and I think not just for him, but for anyone, is an opportunity to rehabilitate yourself, an opportunity to do better. You can't be held accountable for every little mistake you make. And if you get arrested and get convicted of a new crime, that's different. But if you need to travel, if you need to be places, stuff like that, I think the system should try to help you improve yourself and get back into society. You already have a record because obviously you've been convicted of a crime, so finding a job is very difficult, let alone being kind of held back and you know, being watched very closely by a system that's going to put you up, set you up for failure. And that's what we're doing here. It's not being soft on crime, it's being smarter on crime. And I think that's the goal with this whole reform that Meek Mill is kind of heading. And I think he's right. I think when we look at the pictures, I took these pictures at a rally last year. His son was out holding a sign of him. It was the day we were waiting to see if he was going to be released. But to hear him tell the story that when he goes to visit his son in New Jersey, he has to get permission. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, listen, he served his time, right? He's been on probation for an extremely long period of time. I mean, he has much success. Why should you put these restrictions on this man who's really growing in society and can make a difference? Why don't you help him? Why don't you help him improve himself and help him improve others, not kind of hold him accountable for every little incidental mistake, and also restrict him from doing basic things that we do every day.
If he was your client, what do you do now? Like, what, his hands are tied, right?
His hands are tied. Listen, he has a great team of attorneys. They've tried to have this judge removed. Didn't work. He's got some really powerful people around him. I mean, he's really stuck with this judge. And I mean, this is an example in a bigger spectrum, right? Everything's brought to light. But can you imagine the little nobody who's stuck with the judge and really is put under these same constraints? This is the whole purpose and the reason why this reform, this alliance that they've put together with a lot of these people are going to help make a change and make it better. And I'm not talking about if you committed a crime, that if you committed a crime, fine, you're convicted, you serve your sentence. But once you're on probation, the opportunity is to rehabilitate and help that person improve in society, become a better person. And that's what they're not doing here.
Gotcha. Joseph Marrone, thank you.
Always great.
Always good to talk to you. All right, quick break. We'll be right back.
Cashing In is sponsored by the Lincoln Motor Company.